I don't even know if my fucking thing is up. Hang on a second. I believe it is. Yes, we are recording. Hi, everybody. I am Scott. That is Bo. Cricket is in the co-pilot seat. No, she has left. She's bailed out. She opened the door and parachuted to freedom. Today is still the 11th day of October 2022. I don't know why, but my microphone needs to be closer to my mouth now, because for some reason, some setting, some place, my microphone setting is way low. The volume setting, recording setting is way low. So I have to, either that or my COPD is getting worse. Speaking of which, hang on a second. There we go. Anyway, today I was thinking, because I watched a video, and I'm going to share that video with you, but it put me in, there's cricket. It put me in a nostalgic mindset. It made me think of the good old days when I was a kid, and I still had potential. I still had hope. But back in those days, we look at what's going on around us and all the propaganda and all the bullshit and all the exploitation, and we think to ourselves, it could never be this bad. This is the worst it's ever been. Now that Tulsi Gabbard's actually come out of the fucking closet, stopped faking but pretending to be on the left, and now she's like, oh, I'm on the right. No one cares. Take your fucking bride of fucking Frankenstein hair and go someplace else. But so she's become a Republican. Oh, Lordy, no. Maybe they'll vote for her. We think to ourselves that I hate to say this, but I mean, looking back and being completely honest, yeah, we're looking at complete, total fucking fascism. We are looking at the complete and total shutdown of any semblance of freedom of individuality, of the sanctity of autonomy of our own bodies. Everything has to be given up for the greater good. Shit, we can't even count on our own genders remaining fixed in the future. God knows. I'm a male today, but who the fuck knows what I'll be tomorrow? It could be all changed for the greater good, of course. We think all this stuff is new to our country, and, to some degree, some of it is, but I'll tell you what, man. There was some fucked up shit that happened in the past, and I'm looking back at it, and it's not the kind of fucked up shit that takes place that happens where you go, man, that's fucked up. I'm going to protest that. Because there was a lot of that back in the fucking 60s and 70s. Not much in the 80s because everybody was too fucking high on coke. But there was a bunch in the 60s and 70s. But what else was happening in the 60s and 70s? This video I'm going to show you, for some reason, it just brought back this nostalgia for me of these cheesy television promoters pushing these fucking agendas on us. And it'll make sense in a second. I know I seem to be rambling now, and I've probably lost 99.9% of the people who clicked on this video by now, but I really don't care. I'm talking about when I was young. There used to be a thing called Walk for America. It was the March of Dimes. Walk for America. Walk America. This is a vintage t-shirt from the 80s. You can go back. This thing started in 67. Let me explain a little bit about how this worked. March of Dimes ended up having to change their name to something else because it turns out so much of their money that they collected over the decades, the span pretty much my entire life, really. The vast majority of the money went to their own pockets. For organization, to get celebrities to come out and help raise more money. Now they have this thing called NC something, and I forget what it's called, but and of course March for Babies or something. And the first thing they try to tell you is 65% of the money that's collected goes straight to helping the babies. Sure it does. Get this. When you were a kid, just to give you an idea of how things have changed and how they haven't changed. When you were a kid back then, as I was, in a small little town, say Lynchburg, Virginia, and you were of a certain age, you could pee, for instance. That was you were old enough to do this. They would come to your elementary schools and give this stuff to the teachers, and then the teachers and the principal would have a big fucking assembly, and they would tell you all about it. Okay, it's time for the March of Dimes thing, and they would give you the March of Dimes stuff, and you had to fill out the March of Dimes stuff. And you would get this booklet for pledges. And you had to run around and get your parents to sign up and pledge, and you would have to get neighbors who didn't maybe have kids and ask them to pledge, or your friend would be doing it and his parents would be pledging him, and then of course I would come up, and so of course they'd pledge me, and the same thing with my parent and my friend. So it became this thing where you had to do this shit for the greater good. And what is it that you had to do? What were they pledging? They were pledging X amount of dollars or cents per mile. Per mile of what? Per mile of forced labor. It was a fucking death march. Back in the day, they would have children marching during the summer along a path that was pre-set up by the fucking elders of the community and the fucking mayor and the cops. They would lay out a 26 it was a marathon. Back in those days, they changed it in 87 to 18 miles, and then after that, they changed it again down to a half marathon. They would have children walk this thing. I did it from the age of 9 to, I think, 14, but then I was working when I was 14, so I wasn't going to do it. That's the only reason I stopped doing it, was because that weekend, I think it was Labor Day weekend, whatever it was back then. They would have children walk 26 miles in one fucking day. So that every mile that you walked, those people were on the hook. That's Kitten, by the way. Say hi, Kitten. Those people were on the hook for whatever fucking money. I mean, if they said $1 a fucking mile, you get the idea. They owed 26 fucking, you walked all 26 miles. Then they had to pony up 26 fucking dollars. And they got kids. They got anybody to do. We could be an adult to do it, but for the most part, it was really a whole bunch of fucking children in the community. And you'd see these old guys in raincoats sitting on the side of the road, just as all these kids walked by. And a lot of times your parents couldn't go because your parents were fucking working or whatever. Or they were just glad to have you the fuck out of the house for a whole goddamn day. Now think about that. Right now, honestly, you tell me if you could walk 26 miles in a day, in like August or some shit. It was the worst thing ever. It was the worst possible thing. I don't know if it was, I think it was during August. I'm sure it was during the summer, but I think it was like August or some shit. Oh my God, it was fucking awful. And you'd hook up with all your buddies and your friends from school, and hey, how you doing? How's your summer going? All that shit. And off you went. And I tell you what little I can remember of the 5-6 years that I fucking did it, you were did at the end. Plus, the parents loved that shit because you were gone. You were out of the house. They had the house to themselves on Labor Day, whatever it was. Oh, yay. And then when you came back, you weren't like, oh, yay, like you've been eating candy or some shit all fucking day. And you went straight to fucking bed. You were done. That's if you came back. I mean, they did. They had kids falling out and shit. They didn't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck. Could you imagine someone trying to do that with children to make money for their corrupt fucking institution, their fake charity in this day and age? And listen, it wasn't just a couple of, it was all across the fucking country. I mean, they had people walking off. That was where they got the bulk of their fucking money every fucking year. So much so, and they've been doing it since 1967, so much so, I mean, they had situations where people would come and they would work with the fucking principal and the vice principal or whoever was in charge of the fucking school, if it was a middle school or an elementary school, whatever. But they had people coming in there and working with them, and then they had people working with the police to set the fucking route, and of course they had, coverage, TV coverage of the whole fucking thing. It was a massive deal. They put a bunch of money into it and a bunch of time into it to get children to raise money for this, to exploit children to raise money for this. Now, the kids did it with the right intentions. I did it with the fucking right intentions, But still, putting people at risk like that back in those days, I guess the risk wasn't as bad. I'm sure there were pedophiles and there were kids who ended up going missing from these things. I'm sure it happened, and just like it happens today, I guess. But the idea that, you would turn over your kids and they would walk 26 fucking miles while the parents were at home doing whatever, that kind of concept, and it wasn't even a thing done by the school. You were just out there in the middle of the streets, walking down the streets with some people. They give you like pizza or some shit or some Kool-Aid or some shit, I forget. And of course you got yourself a t-shirt. That's one from the 1980s. I guess I started in 78. Maybe? No, probably early. No, 78. Probably, no. Because I started school in 80, so yeah, I probably started 76 in that area. I was young. And around the same time, I think maybe even the same weekend, they had this shit. Do you guys remember any of that? Am I the only one this fucking old? I don't know why this guy's video has sent me down the trip, the light nostalgic, this path. But all of a sudden, I was watching his fucking performance, this guy giving this fucking speech at this event. And I started thinking about Jerry Lewis. What a sleazy, cheesy sleazeball Jerry Lewis is. And he did the MDA marathon. He would do that for God knows how many hours, 22, 21. He would do that, the Labor Day marathon, MDA Labor Day marathon. And they had the national level, and then, of course, they would take breaks from the national level to give Jerry a chance to go back and drink some more gin and do some more blow. And him and Sammy Davis, and they would all of a sudden cut in with the fucking local guys who had their own local bullshit fucking little set built for their local marathons. These were so fucking cheesy. I mean, so fucking cheesy. And he would always bring out some crippled child and do his fake weeping. And of course, people had to watch it for some fucking reason. Members of the community would go in there and wait by the phones. Seasons Pizza. It was sponsored by Seasons Pizza. This is MV Philadelphia Channel 17. This guy right there. See this guy right there? That's how we all fucking felt by hour 2. And it was 24 hours of this stupid fucking shit. To the point where he came out. Jerry Lewis towards the end was suffering from whatever debilitating illness he had. But he had to come out there for the kids. And he was bloated and he was large and his face was just fucking, and he could, do his waka waka voices, his funny little voices to some degree. But it was sad watching him. I mean, you just wanted to fucking give him all the fucking money you had just to get him the fuck off the stage. Here's all the money I got. That's all you're going to get. Get the fuck out of here. They probably made more money those years than they did the other ones, the previous ones, when he was still young and energetic and hopping around. But you know how much money he made off those, right? He made a lot of fucking money. And they would bring kids out there who were disabled, severely disabled, and exploit them to make more money. And we think this shit that's going on is somehow new. That somehow we didn't do this. Our country wasn't like this until the Dems took over or the fucking neocons took over. Yeah, we were like this. They did testing on fucking people and indigenous people in this country. God knows. They put fucking Japanese Americans in internment camps, for God's sake. How long was it before black people could actually vote? Forget about the fucking Civil Rights Act. That's just a vote. So what made me think about this? I'll tell you what made me think about this. Matt Foley, Down by the River. This video I'm about to show you made me think about him, and then from him, I went from that to the Jerry Lewis MDA telethon.
Now I wonder, Brian.
Watch these guys cracking up.
You're using your paper not for writing, but for rolling doobies. You're going to be doing a lot of doobie rolling when you're living in a van down by the river.
It's so ironic, too. But there you go. Why does all this come up? Why did I think about all of this? I thought about all this because Scott Ritter. Scott Ritter. He's coming out there to talk about Julian Assange lives in a van down by the river.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and privilege to be out here today to speak with you. It's also...
He's going to go through his usual routine when he does this. He's a motivational speaker now, and he's going to do his routine where he starts off by saying, I signed an oath. I gave my oath to serve my country and the Constitution and the flag. And he usually, when he does that, he gets a smattering of applause. Listen to the applause he gets. Listen to the reaction he gets. When he goes through that routine this time. Look at all these folks. I am Julian Assange. Listen to all the approval he gets from this crowd.
Honor and privilege to stand here underneath the flag of the United States of America. I took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. It's an oath I took seriously, and I know there's many in the audience today who have taken the same oath, and I know there's some people out here who are watching us who have taken the same oath. Thank you for your service.
Crickets. That went over like a ton of fucking bricks, Scott. Oh my God. That and his fucking jacket, his busted pleather jacket with the strap hanging off the side. It's supposed to be up here. It's busted. I'm just, yeah, you gotta laugh at the funny stuff. Yeah. So here's Scott Ritter, and looking like a fucking pedophile. I don't know what. Ooh, did I say that? Did I say that about Scott Ritter looking like a pedophile with his shades and his pleather jacket? I don't know. I think I did. I watched him talk about this Julian Assange thing. This is something that happened apparently a couple days ago at the Supreme Court. And not a lot of turnout, but they were enthusiastic. Kind of.
But the important thing about that oath is what...
Did you notice him pulling up his pants? You wonder why that made me think of this dude? Sorry.
It stands for. Doesn't stand for I will defend the President of the United States no matter what. It stands for I will defend the Constitution.
You notice how he's going back and forth? Do you see how he's going back and forth from one side? He's going back and forth, and he's got his hands. He's got to talk with his hands. What is this thing now? I see some commercial on television where some dude is walking along. He's getting ready to admit that he needs help cutting smoke, not smoking, but he is a motivational speaker, and he's talking into a fucking thing, giving him, But everyone's got to fucking talk with their hands and this and that, and I gotta talk with my hands, and if I talk with my hands, that brings people into it, and that's people see this and they want to see that. It means they get more committed, they get more into it because I'm talking with my hands. Woo! Who taught people that stupid fucking shit? Who taught people that shit? Could you imagine? I'm going to show you some more Scott Ritter. First of all, Julian Assange. Good God Almighty. Good God Almighty. Listen, if you really think Julian Assange is in Belmarsh prison, and he's currently right now having to service some fucking criminal or wash his fucking underwear for him, then I'll sell you a bridge. I got a bridge for sale. It's near New York. But aside from that, just about his fucking... Could you imagine if you went in to talk to, I don't know, let's say there's a surgeon who comes out and he's about to perform surgery on your wife, spouse, sister, brother, you fill in the fucking blank. And he comes out, well, this is what we've got to do. You got to understand what I'm saying here is that her appendix is about to explode, and I need you to sign these papers. So are you going to give that motherfucker any kind of access to your loved one? No, of course not. Let's say you go to, I don't know, the bank, because you've gotten to the point now where you've been working your way up and saving your fucking money and doing what you had to do and sitting around and you need to get a fucking loan for a house. I can help you get the loan for the house, and I can give you the money, and this is the APR. You're going to fucking... Yeah. Get the fuck away from me. And yet, this is what people have taught these stupid motherfuckers to do when they're giving their motivational speeches. In this case, trying to motivate more people to show up in support of CIA Assange.
I will uphold and defend the Constitution, and the First Amendment of that Constitution is freedom of speech.
He's got him now. They didn't say shit about that fucking flag or that oath he took. We don't give a fuck about your oath or the flag. Freedom of speech? All right. We're here.
In June of 1971, lawyers from this building argued a case before the United States Supreme Court. That case was the United States versus the New York Times.
I didn't get any response.
The Supreme Court came back with a 6-3 opinion in favor of free speech.
It's not an opinion, it's a ruling. The opinions are what accompany the ruling. You have opinions in the majority and the opinions in the minority. That's how that works. Sorry, Scott.
What they said at the time is that the First Amendment
Here we go.
doesn't allow the government
Here we go, the hands.
suppress the press.
Here we go.
But the press to suppress the government.
You'll be living in a van down by the river.
Purpose free speech is so that
another
the people
gesture. We're
can
back to the
hold
open hand.
their government accountable for the crimes and the misdeeds they do, that the government can never hide behind a shroud of secrecy.
Imagine that's how your surgeon's talking to you prior to going into fucking surgery, or your banker's talking to you like that. Your advisor is talking to you like that when you're in college trying to figure out what course of action the rest of your life is going to take. What is the deal with this? I don't understand what this is. But you see people all over the interwebs, influence peddlers doing that. And now you see more and more people out there thinking that can be used. They can do this and bring people into it and get people motivated. Stop doing that stupid shit, people. Scott, I'm talking to you. This is straight to you, Scott. Stop doing that stupid shit. Whoever coached you up on that, you need to get your fucking money back. You need to get your money back and buy a new jacket. Look at that thing flopped over. That's my thumbnail. I'm really excited about the thumbnail. God damn. Dude, come on, man. What is going on with the jacket? Dude. Okay. Man, look at him. I mean, he looks, is it just me? Is it just me, or does he look like fucking Matt Foley? Come on, he looks like Matt. He's got that Matt Foley thing going on. Living in a van down by the river. I don't know why that makes me think that way. Why I think about that, but I do. People, Julian Assange is not the personification of free speech. He's, first of all, not in Belmarsh prison. He wasn't being held, being fucking tortured, living in the Ecuadorian embassy either in London. He went there for his fucking balcony speeches, and he went there to meet with people when there were people to meet with. But aside from that, they would just put him in the fucking garage and then bring in the fucking ambassador's car, the diplomatic vehicle with the blacked out windows, and they'd put him in the back and they would drive him to the fucking airport, where they would put him straight, drive right on the fucking runway and put him right in the fucking plane with diplomatic immunity and ship him off to wherever he was living with his wife. That's how he had 2 children. He was living his fucking life. And every now and then, when some dissident someplace, or some organizer someplace, contacted fucking WikiLeaks and said, I really want to talk, I got some information to give to Julian Assange, they would call Julian over. He would bring his ass back out of wherever he was, probably Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, someplace on one of those man-made islands. They would bring his ass out of there. They would put him on a fucking plane. They would fly him back into fucking London. They would put him back in the fucking diplomatic vehicle. They would drive him to the fucking embassy garage. They would close the door. They would open the door. He would go up there. They would brief him. And when that person showed up, that company that was hired by the CIA out of fucking Spain, Global United or whatever the fuck that Global UC Global, something like that. They would fucking take that guy's or that woman's personal stuff and her cell phone and laptops and hold it and then shove them into another room to wait for Julian while they downloaded all the information and put tracer bugs and stuff like that on the person's cell phone and laptop and other devices. And then, of course, Julian would come in. The whole thing be recorded, unbeknownst to that person. And Julian was on board with all of this. That was what Julian did all those years. Because what he started off with, as John Young pointed out, he started off with fucking Wikipedia, WikiLeaks, being a fucking, it was a CIA honey trap. It was a CIA honey trap, and it would fucking dispense bullshit fucking stories. The big one, the big fucking dump, that what's his face, or now her face, was famous for, was all State Department shit from lower level State Department people saying, yeah, I think the leader of Nicaragua is selling cocaine and ass raping children. And that became a leak because then the dump went from the State Department and all those bullshit lies straight to fucking WikiLeaks. You people, man. These people who fucking, and there's hardly anybody showing up here, which is good. Which is, I just can't help but laugh at him now that I've made that connection. I can't help but laugh at him. He's a clown. He's doing a clown act. He gives a 5-minute fucking talk. I don't know how much money they probably paid him. They probably paid his housing in New York and his fucking whatever. It's a clown show. It's a clown show like this was. Supposedly for a good fucking cause. Who can argue with the children? With the handicapped kids? Let's roll them out here. 3, 4, 5 times a night. You can't argue with my good fuck. Here I got First Amendment. You can't argue with the First Amendment. But Assange has nothing to do with First Amendment. Except he will be used as a he will be offered up in mock sacrifice. And they will be able to censor journalists in the future because of what happens with Julian Assange. What has he got in his pocket, I wonder? It's probably a pack of smokes. He doesn't look to be the healthiest individual in the world. I don't know. I saw that and I thought I would have to make a video about that. I'll probably never post this video, but I just thought it was interesting. I need to get myself one of these t-shirts. I don't think they make them for people my size anymore. But I wonder how many kids were actually harmed doing the 26-mile fucking walk. And they would, like I said, I started when I was 9, I think. How many kids were actually harmed doing the 26-mile walk so that March of Dimes could get that fucking money? So those people can get that money. And then maybe 10% of it, 12% of it, 13% of it actually saw its way to actually helping children. That wasn't March of Dimes. That was MDA. The march, the walk was March of Dimes. The telethon was MDA. I don't know. It's just seeing Scott Ritter is just so fucking funny, and knowing that people still fall for that crap, it's just so funny. It'd be like fucking Jerry Lewis coming out again, doing another goddamn telethon, trying to get you to offer up your kids to go out in the hot summer day and walk 26 fucking miles on the pavement all around town so that wealthy people owning and operating and waiting to get their pockets stuffed at the MDA or the March of Dimes could do so. It's just remarkable to me. But that's the kind of shit that we had to go through. That's the kind of shit that we went through back in the day. The kind of exploitation there was. And there's much worse examples of it. But there you go. Like I said, I probably won't publish this video, but I just thought I'd make it anyway for my own edification, I suppose.